everybody, and welcome to DC Fine Art. Today I am doing a oil pastel piece, and it's just something that I just thought of in my head, but I wanted to do something for Halloween. I know Halloween is coming up, and I don't know why I had the idea of doing this, but with oil pastels, I wasn't really wanting to put a whole lot of detail into doing this piece. This is just something I wanted to do that was quick and kind of loose, not really, particular on the details on it, but just something fun for Halloween. So I wanted to do something a little spooky, but not too spooky. And I decided to do a birdhouse. Now, what I am using for it's not really a paper, it's actually using a board, and it's a pastel board. And I forgot, let's see here. I can't really think. I think it's like, let me get that. But the pastel board is, I can't even see the brand name of the board, but I know they make pastel board. They make, oh, it's Sand. That's what it is. It was the Sand pastel board is what I'm using. It is the gray tone because that way, if anything shows through and it's got that gray, I don't mind that gray kind of showing through anyway. So I kind of use something that will kind of go with my picture that I'm actually doing. And right now, I'm just freehanding drawing this, just trying to figure out maybe a little design on what I could do. I did see a reference photo from Pixabay with this birdhouse, and it looked kind of spooky. I was like, you know what? I can probably make this into something really spooky. So that kind of gave me my little idea. But other than that, I just wanted to have fun with this. Just go out there, have fun. Don't really worry about anything particular. But in order to draw or what I'm drawing with is my pastel, or actually it's not a pastel pencil, it's a chalk pencil or white chalk pencil, so that way I can see what I'm doing. And I will be using OMS to do some of my blending too. But here I just decided that I was going to do like this little bitty decoration, like a little strand with not candy cane, candy corn hanging off of it, along with like a little moon, and just make it look kind of spooky, aged, broken down. So this is something just really simple you can do, or you can have like your kids do it or whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And they do make oil pastels to where they're water soluble. So that way, if you're not wanting to use OMS, you can use water with those. And you'll just have to look online, but I know that they do sell water soluble oil pastels. So there is a thing for that if you're not wanting to do the OMS. So they do have it. It's whatever you prefer. So here I'm just kind of loosely drawing. You can kind of see my process. I go with different ideas, like I'll change things up, if it don't look right, or if I'm like, no, I don't want to have, this little, I thought about doing like this little spider web and then having like it attached to maybe a secondary limb coming in, but then I just totally changed my mind on it and I just kind of rearranged everything. And I just thought, you know what, that don't look right. I'm going to make a change. But then on top of that, using a chalk or a charcoal or pencil, you can actually use your OMS or water, whichever one you choose, depending on what oil pastels you have. But you can always just go over it with that wet brush and it'll wash it away. So you don't have to worry about having any lines or that pencil kind of showing through if you just use a little bit of water or OMS, either which one you do, and you can just go over the top of it and it kind of washes it away. So, let's see how I just turns and it just makes a change. Just how the concept of how I go back and forth with what looks good. Okay, that doesn't look good. I want it this way or I want it different. I don't want it to look, all completely, you know, every angle and everything being just perfect. I wanted it to look rustic. I wanted to look broken down, worn, just, not a lot of detail as far as that goes. Here I'm kind of contemplating, and now here comes the pastel part. So here I'm adding in kind of like this little pinkish kind of color. It's more like, I would say it's more of a pinkish, like reddish tone, kind of like a, maybe like a salmon kind of color. And then I'm adding in different shades of purple. Like it'll go from like a lighter purple or at least a mid purple to a little bit darker purple to a really dark purple. So I'm kind of doing some mixes in here. Like I said, this is just for Halloween, and I am just having some fun. And just doing artwork is fun anyway, so who wants to just stick with a plan? Just have fun and do whatever. So after I get through adding in my pastel colors, I'll go back in with my OMS and I'll blend it out. And by blending it out, it helps me to either blend it into the other color, kind of just a little bit the way I want, but it can also help with kind of making your lines go in a certain direction if you're wanting it to. And then also the reason why I use OMS is because this oil pastels are just they are messy. I mean, as far as like they don't really dry, they just stay wet. And I noticed that whenever I use my OMS on top of it, it kind of makes it to where it ain't completely gonna, get all over the place, but I can kind of barely touch it and it doesn't come off as easily. So it kind of breaks it down, it kind of melts it to where it doesn't just like come off. So that is another reason why using the OMS, at least the way I do it, like this, is because it just kind of seals it. I guess that's the best way I can do or say it. I have the Sennelier, like it's the spray that goes over the top of this and it's supposed to be like a sealer. And I've sprayed one of my pictures so many layer after layer after layer, let it dry, spray again, let it dry, spray again. And I still can't get the thicker pieces or parts to actually like seal to where that if you touched it, I mean, it comes off on your hand, it comes off on, anything that touches the top of it. So only the ones that I used a lot of the OMS or did a lot of blending made it a lot thinner, then it actually, made it so much better with not just instantly coming off on stuff. So it's still not perfect though, so it still does come off, just not as bad. So here I was adding in some of the white over the top of the pinks and the purples on the edge part just to kind of give it that smoky look. And then I used it around the outside of the moon. And then adding in some different grays and just kind of blending it in. There I'm kind of taking my brush. I don't know why I'm saying kinda. I am I'm actually doing this, but I'm taking my brush, dipping it in the old mess. I may just dab a little bit on a like a paper towel, and then I'll use the brush on the little pastel or oils, pastel stick, and then get some off so that way I can do some lining. But I used only one brush for this piece, and it was a thicker brush. So it couldn't get really, really fine details because of the brush that I was using. I was using a much thicker brush. But I didn't really expect to do really fine detail with this. It was just a fun piece to work on. So I laid in a lot of the black and then I put in some of this white to kind of outline it, and I added some blues in there. So it's like a darker blue and a black mixture. And then I just put some of this white on top and it kind of lightens it a little bit. That way you got that moonlight kind of glowing around the castle in the background, along with some of the hills and stuff. It has definitely been a long week for me. I have been so tired. So hopefully I make sense on this video. So here I'm just kind of blending it in with my OMS, and it just makes a big difference. It makes it a whole lot smoother, and I just love the way it looks whenever I do this. But you still have some of the texture that the oil pastels have. So some of it, I don't get rid of every single bit of it. I do leave a little bit of texture in it from where the oil pastel where I put in some areas. Like especially this candy corn here that I'm getting started on. I didn't really do a lot of blending with that. I may have blended right around the edge lines to kind of get some of that charcoal pencil off of there. But other than that, I didn't, or kind of just shape it a little bit around the edges, but I didn't blend it. Otherwise, it would make a big blobby mess. So I stayed away from doing that. Now here I'm just adding in my different colors of grays and my warm gray, some of my darker grays for shadowing. And it's since it's supposed to be like an old, you know, kind of, it's almost on its last leg birdhouse, I went ahead and just used some different color grays in here. So I didn't make it all just one solid color. Some of the edges would be darker because of the shadowing. So I made sure to put my darker grays in where the shadows are. And now I'm just coming in with the OMS brush, and I'm just kind of smoothing out some of it, but not completely on the little strand there. And then coming back through for the wood, I didn't want to completely blend it out, but I wanted to blend in the same direction as the wood was kind of coming down. But I didn't want to blend too much to where it wiped out all the color. I still wanted to see some of that color coming through with the dark. And this was just a little fun little piece I wanted to do for Halloween. I didn't put, like I said, a lot of detail into doing something like this. I just wanted to have fun and play with these oil pastels some more. There's my little bat up there. And it looks really like if I didn't put any black in there, but it was just so shiny because it was wet that it literally looks like it's white. But I will go back and fix that later once it dries a little bit. Here I'm putting in the brown, and then I'll put in a darker brown for the shadowing underneath and underneath some of the limbs. I'll come back through and just start blending it out with my brush. But yeah, another thing of doing this and just having fun and just creating, anything. It doesn't have to be perfect whatsoever, but just playing with this medium and just taking the time to, see what it can and cannot do, and just playing around with it is just going to make you that much better because you're going to get used to using that type of medium to where you know what you can and can't do with it. So you got to make, anything, just draw anything, paint anything, just keep working at it and you'll get the feel of that medium. Sometimes I go back and forth with some things and I'm like, okay, it feels like I just started out all over again. But yeah, I'm really thinking like the oil pastels, though, it's like, it's absolutely fun to work with. It's a joy. But sometimes it's like I take my time away from it for so long that whenever I come back, I'm like, oh, this is kind of new. Or at least it feels that way, I guess, because I always switch all the time. There's my little spider. I had to put him in there. He's not the greatest little spider, but he is there. He's a little spider. Like I said, it's not going to be really, really detailed, so. But I definitely wanted to make sure I get my highlights in and get my shadows in too. So, and then I'll go ahead and correct this. And I will be showing you guys the finished piece here in a little bit. It's just going to be a quick little picture. But I'm really hoping that next week will be a much bigger piece, maybe something that'll take a little bit more time, a lot more detail into it. But like I said, just doing this for Halloween, just having some fun. I hope you guys are having fun out there also with the fall and the winter coming in, and just having fun and creating some art. Doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. Practice, practice, practice. Just do anything. There's my little bat until I get him wet. As soon as he gets wet, he just totally looks shiny. But he is definitely a dark black bat. Yeah. But yeah, next week will be a whole lot longer of a video, hopefully something a little bit more detailed. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next Thursday. Bye, you guys.